Would you thank our team for leading us? All right, are you comfortable? You better be. I haven't preached in 7 weeks. So I've got about 7 weeks of content, and we're going to see if we can unroll it all this morning. And if you're a guest, you're wondering how serious I am, probably. But I'm excited to share with you today. But first of all, I do want to say this. I want to thank the church and the church board and all of you for just extending me the opportunity to get away. I've never taken a 7-week break. And honestly, when I went, I just wasn't sure what that was going to feel like, what that was going to be like. I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy it or not. That may sound odd to you, but I did. And Dr. Busick was really interesting. I listened online. And one of the things that Dr. Busick said, and he's a really good friend of mine, but I wasn't sure I agreed with him. He said this. He said, man, when your pastor comes back, we hope that he's not only rested, and trust not only will he be rested, but he'll come back as a new pastor with a brand new perspective. And when he said it, I thought, that's a pretty high expectation. And I don't really feel like a new pastor yet. But I will say by the end of the 7 weeks, in fact, I'd tell you today, I feel different. I feel very different, and that's a good thing. I'm grateful for our staff, though, and I'm grateful for the ways in which, in fact, Pastor John and Pastor Todd said to me before I left, how often do you want updates? And I said, I don't know, but I'll let you know. Can I tell you something? I didn't really want any updates. In fact, even John said, I think we'll know. If you need to know, I think I'll know. And I was like, I think you'll know too. Like, if the place is burning to the ground, I want to know. But otherwise, leave me alone. See, I trust them. I trust our staff fully, and we are blessed with an incredible staff. Yeah. I will say this, as I come back, I think about two things, and I'm going to share with you this week and next week, and then I'm really excited about a series that we're going to start that's going to take us quite a ways, about 10 weeks. We're going to walk through the book of Ephesians. And I'm trusting it's going to be good for me, and I'm trusting it's going to be good for us as a church, and so gear up for that. I think it's going to be a really good series. But these 2 weeks, I just want to share with you a little bit about where I'm at and what took place over those 7 weeks, because my hope is that some of the things that God did fresh in my heart, he might desire to do in yours too. When I think about it, I would sum it up like this. I think God talked to me a lot about my connection with him, and I think God talked to me a lot about his desire for me to be connected with others. And it takes me back to Matthew chapter 22, which says, that's really what I want to start this week, is this: Teacher, which is the most important commandment in the law of Moses? And Jesus replied, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first, and it's the greatest commandment. That at the most simple heart of Christianity is that God loved us so much that he sent his son to express his love to us. And if we realize that he chose us, we have the opportunity also to say, yes, I love you too, Father, and choose him. I went for a walk at the beginning of the sabbatical. In fact, my last Sunday, you're going to see some pictures. That's Spain. That's not Olathe. My last Sunday, I flew out on Tuesday, and I went to northern Spain, and I walked the Camino. It's called, the path I chose was El Camino Primitivo. It's called the original way. It was the first way from this beautiful city of Oviedo to Santiago. And really, you just walk to the next city, and then you walk to the next city. And I didn't have time. That's my friend Chris. I did it with my friend that I grew up with. I've shared with you about him many times. He helped lead me to Jesus when I was 16. And we had a wonderful time. And it was beautiful. I love the animals, which you're going to see. I didn't realize, isn't that kind of cool? You're just walking along, and there he is, right? It's not a bear, thank the Lord. I wasn't scared of that or that. Don't you love his eyebrows? I just wanted you to experience that. Yeah. But I tell you this, like the walk, it was really something. I walked 90 miles over 8 days. And the first day was 8 miles, if that tells you anything. We wanted to start off slow. Yeah. And I'll tell you this, the Lord was really good to me. But he spoke to me in so many ways, and I want to share with you a little bit about that. But I'm going to connect it to John chapter 15, which is a passage I've been thinking about a lot. And so I just want to read it to you. This is Jesus speaking, okay? These are Jesus' words. And he says this, I'm the true grapevine. My Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit, so they will produce even more. You've already been pruned and purified by the message I've given you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. Listen to that promise. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine. And you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Yes, I'm the vine and you are the branches. And those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. Anyone who does not remain in me is thrown away like a useless branch and withers. Such branches are gathered into a pile to be burned. But if you remain in me and my words remain in you, you may ask for anything you want and it will be granted. When you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples. This brings great glory to my Father. I've loved you even as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. When you obey my commandments, you remain in my love, just as I obey my Father's commandments and remain in his love. And then finally in verse 11, I've told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. Father, I thank you for your word. And Lord, I think this passage is a really important one for us to understand. Lord, your desire to be with us, to be in relationship with us, we talk about it a lot. But Lord, I just believe you want to do something more, something new in each of us. And I wonder if we've really underestimated or not fully comprehended well what it means to remain in you. So today, would you help me? Would you help me as I stand in this place? I have lots of feelings going on today, and I just pray that you just give me the words to say. And God, I thank you for this opportunity and for your word and for your Spirit who connects your word to our hearts. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. So I was looking at John 15, and I was thinking about the big idea today, and I wrote it, and I wrote it, and I wrote it. I'm not still sure I love it, but here's the thought. The deepest life, the best life, isn't found in accomplishing more for Jesus. It's found in abiding more deeply with Jesus. Man, that's one to put on the fridge. It's one to think about a lot because it is so true. See, God did over these 7 weeks, and it took 7 weeks, but he did some reordering in my life with an emphasis on abiding over accomplishing. Remain in me and I'll remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it's severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Yes, these are Jesus' words. I am the vine, and you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. See, the fruit must show up in you before it shows up through you. And there's a tension that I feel, even in this passage, that in the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking about John 15. I had a friend who shared it with me. I was kind of sharing some of the things that had happened in my life over this sabbatical. And this friend just said, it reminds me so much of John 15. And I started to look at it, and I started to think about it. And I thought, man, there's tension in that passage. See, I don't feel like I naturally abide well. Maybe some of you do. I don't feel like I naturally remain well. I feel like I'm built to produce, to produce, to produce, to accomplish, to accomplish, to accomplish. But Jesus says, remain in me, and the producing will come. But the producing will only come after you remain in me. I want you to notice something that I've never noticed. You looked in the NIV version and you just kind of looked at, there's these two big things going on. The remain in me, this idea that you'll see, you heard me say it over and over and over and over. And then you've got this produce idea, this bear fruit idea that you heard me say over and over and over and over. And I don't know that you were counting, but if you were to look at the NIV version and you were actually to count, this idea of remain it's listed 12 times. And this is Jesus speaking. He must think we're really slow. 12 times. I mean, do you get it? Remain is a significant thing. And then it was interesting because in my head I thought, I think I've always thought this. If he said remain 12 times, he must have said produce or bear fruit 12 times. Can I tell you something? He didn't. He said it 5 times. He said remain, like in me and I in you, 12 times. He said bear fruit or produce 5 times. That's a really strong clue that Jesus is more interested in your remaining and abiding in him than your attempt to accomplish and produce for him. And make sure you see that and hear it. Because I'll tell you, that one messed with me. If I'm honest with you, when I went on sabbatical, I had no idea on how unhealthy I was. When I got away from you, I didn't realize how heavy you were. That's not a fat comment. But I also just didn't realize how unhealthy I was and how many things that the Lord needed to reorder in my life for me to live the way that he's desired for me to live, for me to actually thrive as Kevin, your pastor. And one of the things that I think was out of balance in my life was I've always been one who like when I think about the church and I think about what I do every day and I think about you and I think about where we're headed, like I want to accomplish and I want to accomplish and I want to accomplish and I want to celebrate, like I want to see it that God's producing and he's producing and he's producing. And yet here's what the scripture says, that if our focus is on producing, if that is what we're about, we will produce nothing. Whew. Wow. Really, what he's saying is, I don't need you to focus on producing. I need you to focus on remaining. And you'll trust that I will do the producing. Man, I've gotten this so wrong. And fruit is the evidence. Can I just say it? Fruit is the evidence, not the goal. Productivity can never replace proximity, according to Jesus. And the irony is that the more we become obsessed with producing, the less fruit we actually produce. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Take that seriously. The first couple days, as I went on this hike, I had all kinds of thoughts. Can I tell you something? I'm not a hiker. I think I've told you before, I don't even like to walk around the neighborhood. So about 3 months before sabbatical, I just got this idea. How about I go hike 90 miles in Spain? At first I was like, what am I thinking? But I do believe, like, the Lord took me to Spain. And I'll tell you, like, when I got there, I'm not an experienced hiker. I mean, Google helps, but I'm not a hiker. And so I'd read everything I could, and Rachel was trying to help me and trying to prepare me. And can I just tell you, when I got there, I'd never been to Spain, never been to Europe. Well, there was so many times when I could hear Rachel's voice. As I was preparing to go to Spain, I didn't want to hurt anything because I thought if I hurt something now, I won't be able to walk in Spain. So I just didn't really prepare. I mean, that sounds smart, doesn't it? And here's what happened. I mean, I remember Rachel, I heard her voice so clearly when she said, Kevin, you need to be walking Lowe's Hill. We live close to Lowe's Hill. If you've never seen it, it's this large hill. And people walk up and down it. People walk up and down it. And it's right. I mean, it's walking distance to my house. It's right by my house. And she said, you should be walking the hill, as she would go out and walk the hill. And I said, I'm not walking the hill. And I went out there one time, and I walked up and down a few times, and I looked at her and I said, Spain is not gonna be like this. I mean, honey, this thing's like straight up. I'm feeling in my Achilles. You're gonna blow my Achilles before I ever get to Spain. Can I tell you something? My first day in Spain, we walked through Oviedo and we got to this trail, and I looked, and I could hear Rachel's voice. You should be walking the hill. And at that point, I thought, what have we gotten ourselves into? My friend kept saying, like, what are we doing? Every time we'd run into someone, you know what they'd say? How many hikes have you been on? And we'd say, none. You know what they'd say every time? Why'd you pick this one? Why'd you pick the mountainous route in northern Spain? And my friend would look at me like, I have no idea. But I'll tell you, here's what was going through my head. I kept thinking, even on that first day, it was 8 miles, which felt like 15. And I kept thinking, can I do this? Is my body gonna hold up? I could hear Rachel's voice in my head. And I just thought, what was I thinking? This was not a good idea. I just gotta make it to the city. I gotta prove it to myself. I gotta prove it to anyone who knows I'm here. Lord knows I've gotta prove it to Rachel. And I thought, what am I gonna say when I get back? I took an Uber for 90 miles through northern Spain, and it was beautiful. So I'll tell you what I did. Out of my own anxiety, I just put my head down and I marched. I put my head down and I marched. Every once in a while, I'd hear a cow. There's cowbells everywhere in Spain. Who would have thought? I'd hear a cow. I'd hear something. You know, my friend, he was kind of in the same boat. He just put his head down and marched. And we did our 8 miles, and we came out, and we could see the city where we were going, and it just hit me. And I felt like the Lord said, what are you doing? I didn't even enjoy the first 8 miles. I don't even really think I saw much of the first 8 miles. I only looked at my feet. I thought about my feet. I thought about my knees. Thought about my hips. Thought about a lot of other things. And I felt like the Lord said, I did not bring you to Spain just to accomplish this. I didn't bring you to Spain to check something off your list. I brought you to Spain to take in my creation. I brought you to Spain so we could have some quiet time. I brought you to Spain so you'd have no distractions. I brought you to Spain with your friend who led you to Jesus years ago. I brought you that you would enjoy it all, and all you're doing is putting your head down. I was afraid he was going to ask me to go back and start over. But can I tell you something? Most of us are wired that way. We're wired with destination in mind. That we're thinking, oh, I just got to get there. I just got to get the promotion. We just got to get to the next stage of life. I just got to get my kids through junior high, whatever it is, right? We're always looking out there. And there are times, I'm telling you, his desire is that he could walk with you in every stage of life that you are in, that you would experience him in his fullness, not out there when it's accomplished, but now. That your life would be about being with him, not doing things for him. And those are very different. You know, when I took this sabbatical, and I'm running out of time, I told you you're going to get 7 weeks. I thought, what happens when I unplug for 7 weeks? The idea of sabbatical messed with me. What happens when I'm cut off from my church community? Who will I be when I wake up and the house is silent without a list of people to meet with? And without a list of things to do that make me feel like I'm accomplishing something? What happens when I read my Bible and I have no outlet to share, nothing to preach? I mean, what happens when I don't preach for 7 weeks? And I'll just tell you this, the Lord worked in all of that. See, the Lord did a reordering in my life. I love the words in John 15. I'm not going to read it to you, but here's what it says. You didn't choose me, I chose you. And at the heart of that, you know what that is? It's I chose you. I wanted to be in a relationship with you. And can I tell you something? I think for the last 29 years, I've always wondered this. I've always wondered, what would it be like if I wasn't a pastor? What would it be like? Would I still have value? What if I worked at Lowe's? and I didn't work here, like, what would it be like? Would I be less valuable? My wife, she makes fun of me, and John does too every once in a while, I think, deep down in his heart. There's times when I meet people, and you know what I do? I don't like it, and I'm trying to break it. But I'll be like, hi, I'm Pastor Kevin. And she'll say, usually privately, but she'll say, your first name's not Pastor. And I'm like, kind of is, right? But here's what she's really saying. You have an identity outside of pastor. Pastor is not your primary identity. It is what you do, but it isn't who you are. And over this sabbatical, he reminded me, Kevin, what you do and who you are separate. I would love you the same if you worked at Lowe's. I would love you the same. I loved you as my child before you were my pastor. And can I tell you something? That set me free. Not free to go work at Lowe's. I'm not going anywhere. But it allows me to enter differently. See, I know who I am. I'm His. Can I just say this to you? Many of you, you've been given a label, an identity. Maybe it's your work. Maybe it's your history. Maybe it's a past. Maybe whatever it is, there's something that you've adopted as your identity. And the world will always label you. There'll always be people in your life who will give you an identity, and if you will adopt it, it can be yours. But I think Jesus wants you to know first and foremost that you are His. In fact, all throughout Scripture, He says some beautiful things. He says things like, you're loved deeply, that's your identity. You're forgiven, you're chosen, you are a friend. You saw this in this passage. You are a beloved child of God. To all who will receive Him, He gave the right to become children of God. That is who you are. Your identity is not based on what you do. Your identity is based on who He says you are. And then I'll just say this. One of the things that I felt like He really taught me on that trail. Kevin, I need you to be connected to fewer things so you can be deeply connected to the right things. You know, I am the true grapevine and the Father is the gardener. I want you to notice, who's the gardener? The Father. The Father is the gardener. And then it goes on, it says, He cuts off every branch of mine. That sounds painful, doesn't it? He prunes. He cuts off every branch that doesn't produce fruit, and He prunes the branches that do bear fruit, so they'll produce even more. Most of us, we go, yeah, I don't like that part of the passage. Nobody wants to be pruned. But can I tell you something? It makes a difference who's doing the pruning. I am the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener, the one who loves you deeply, who calls you forgiven, who calls you chosen, who calls you a friend, who calls you His son and daughter. When I started this hike, again, not much experience. We kind of cheated a little bit. We had a suitcase of all our stuff that someone would take to the next hotel. And so you'd lay it out in the morning and they'd take it. And so we had to walk with what was supposed to be a day pack. But I'm a little weird, and so I wanted a lot of things in my day pack. You know, I was trying to think of everything that could go wrong, and I would just pack it. And so in my backpack, I had all kinds of things. I had enough blister supplies that I could have had them all over me, and I'd have been fine. I had rain gear for every day, rain or shine. I had all kinds of food. I mean, we could have gotten stranded on that trail for days, and we'd have been fine. I could have fed all kinds of folks with us. Water, tons of water. I had extra socks in case my socks got wet. I even had extra shoes. Because what if I get halfway through and these shoes aren't working? I might need a different pair. I mean, what is wrong with me? I had extra shoes. I had a back brace because sometimes my lower back hurts. I had foot braces for my plantar fasciitis. I mean, I was ready. But can I tell you something? That backpack was loaded. And the first day I thought, I think this is normal. It was not normal. In fact, by day 4 and day 5, I started to think, man, I don't know that I need all this. And when we'd get to our destination and we'd start unpacking, and the next morning, my friend and I both were like, do you really think it's going to rain today? He'd say, Kevin, I don't think it's going to rain. Toss it out. I'm not really getting many blisters. Toss it out. I found myself, I was scaling back every day. And in fact, towards the end, I thought, I'm not wearing the second pairs of shoes. They're size 14. They're taking up a lot of room in the backpack. So I got rid of the shoes. At one point, here's what he said to me, and I didn't think this was a good idea. He said, Kevin, I don't know what else to take out. He didn't like the weight of his backpack either. Can you tell we're rookies when it comes to hiking? He said, I don't know what else to take out, so I think I'm just not going to haul water today. He actually said that to me. I hope he's watching. I said, Chris, that is not a good idea. No. No, water is a necessary weight. And he said, no, it's not. He said, Kevin, every day we find a spring somewhere, we find water. I'm going to take an empty bottle, and when we find water, I'll get a drink. And I said, well, let's just be clear. You're not drinking mine. Little by little, we let things go, and here's what we discovered. It was much more enjoyable to travel lightly. I think that's the picture of the spiritual life. Just with me, can you do this? What would it look like to invite the Father, who is a really good gardener, to do some pruning in your life? To actually cut back some things so you could remain in him even more. To cut back some things so you could produce more than you ever thought about producing. Can I tell you something? There is way too much in all of our lives. And the too much in all of our lives works against John 15. And here's what happens. We have so much in our lives that we're like, oh, if I can just accomplish more, I can get more stuff in my life. And can I tell you something? That is the recipe for absolutely no fruit. The recipe for fruit is to say, God, prune out anything that is not necessary in my life, anything that is causing me not to be able to be with you, anything that is a distraction, carve it out. And what if every cut from the gardener is an act of love? What if every no from him is for a greater yes? What instead of resisting, we would invite his pruning? Next week, I'm going to tell you a story from the third week of my sabbatical that I believe is going to shape the rest of my ministry. I really do. And part of why I'm telling you is accountability for it. But the Lord really talked to me about something. In fact, I would say he convicted me. He didn't condemn me, but he convicted me. And it was really interesting because I feel like he really set me free. And by his grace, he gave me the option to turn towards him and to experience the thriving that he has for me. And I would just say this, I want that life so bad for me, and I want it for you too. And can we just make this really clear? Pruning isn't just about removing bad things. It often means removing really good things that keep us from the best thing. As I look back over those 8 days, I'm grateful for the miles, the mountains, the memories. But what I'm most grateful for is along the trail, Jesus gently reminded me that before he wanted anything from me, he simply just wanted me. And I think that's his invitation to us today. Can I just, I want to look at you, and I think this is what he would say to you today. You don't have to produce anything. You don't have to perform. You don't have to prove yourself. The invitation is to remain. Remain in him, and he will remain in you. The invitation is to stay close, to walk with him, to let him prune, let him remind you of who you are. Because fruit is never the goal. Jesus is. Fruit is never the goal. We say it all the time, we lead people. That's our goal, to lead people into a growing relationship with Jesus. I think the opportunity is to say yes to a God that first said yes to us. You know, I'm excited to share with you next week too, and I'll tell you, like I came back this week and I entered on Monday, and I felt a little anxious. Not because I didn't want to come back, not because I didn't want to be with you or preach or see you, but my anxiousness was I just didn't want to go back to the way things were. In fact, I had a thought a couple weeks ago where I thought, am I going to have to wait another 5 to 7 years to go on sabbatical again to feel good again? That was really depressing. And I felt like the Lord said, no, unless that's the way you choose to do this. See, if you'll actually just think about some of the things that I've taught you and you'll live into them, we can do this differently. I think that goes for all of us. See, no matter what your circumstance or where you go and the things that you do, Jesus' invitation is to go with you, to do it with you. That you would first and foremost acknowledge his presence with you. And then he would help to do everything else through you. Would you bow your heads with me today? I heard one of our leaders in the church yesterday say this, that he was talking to these folks who were being ordained, and he said, would you accept, in a sense, this invitation just to keep the gospel simple? Not to make it all complicated like we sometimes do, but to keep it simple. That God made a way for us to have relationship with him. He chose us first. And maybe you would say, I don't really feel very close to God right now. I think I've probably been way more about accomplishing and performing than I have been about remaining. And can I tell you something? Like, it's not because God moved away from you. It's probably because you got distracted along the way. It's probably because other things came into your sight and became your focus. But here's the good news. The good news is that even today we're reminded that it's exactly what he desires of you, is just to know you, to do life with you, to be in relationship with you, to be your number one. And all he's looking for is today for you to be reminded that he's already chosen you. And he chooses you again this morning. He says, yeah, let's just do this. And all he's looking for you is to say yes to him. That's it. Maybe you're here and maybe you're feeling some guilt. You're like, man, I just know I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Can I tell you something? The Lord, his conviction, when I was a kid, I used to always think, I just kind of sometimes when I felt convicted, I wanted to crawl under the pew. But he spoke to me about what he did a few weeks ago. I didn't feel like he was condemning me. I didn't feel like he was looking down on me. I felt like he was inviting me to something better because he loves me so much. That's what this is this morning. He's inviting you to experience the absolute best that he has for you. And that is to come alongside of you, to be in relationship with you. That you would love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind. Father, as we sing this song, think about the folks who are gathered in this room. Maybe there's someone here today who would just say, I want to know God. Kevin, if he really wants a relationship with me, I want a relationship with him. I just want to say yes to Jesus, who laid down his life for my sins, that I could be forgiven and set free. Lord, I pray that everyone in this room would feel your love and your grace extended to them in this moment. And they realize that it doesn't matter what happened yesterday or last month or 10 years ago. The invitation stands today to receive you, to walk with you, to experience new life. And then maybe there's folks in the room today who would just say, I've known Jesus a long time. Father, I've known you a long time, but I have been way out of balance in attempting to do things for you rather than just to be with you. Lord, make it right today. Help me. As we sing this song, you can pray right where you are. If you want to come to an altar, you can, but I think this is an important invitation for you to deal with today. And I want to give you the opportunity to say yes.